Once upon a time, in a small, bright village nestled between rolling hills and lush forests, there was a little girl named Amarachi. From the moment she was born, everyone knew that she was special, extraordinary in ways no one could fully understand. Her story began long before she even came into the world. Amarachi's mother, Olu, carried her for 11 months, far longer than the usual 9. The villagers marveled at the news, whispering amongst themselves in hushed voices. 11 months, they would say. That's an incredible wait. No one could explain why, but it was clear from the very beginning that little Amarachi was destined to be different. It was on a dark, stormy night that Amarachi chose to finally greet the world. The rain poured down in torrents, as if the skies themselves were shedding tears. The thunder roared and lightning flashed, casting an eerie glow over the village. But inside her home, Olu was not alone. She had Aoka, a kind and experienced midwife, by her side. Aoka had helped many women through the birthing process, but she could sense that this birth was unlike any other. When Amarachi was born, there was something peculiar about her, a secret that would change her life forever. The little baby had both male and female private parts. It was something rare, something that no one in the village had ever seen before. Olu and her husband were terrified. What would this mean for their daughter? They loved her with all their hearts, but the fear of the unknown shadowed their joy. Olu, ever the protective mother, whispered to Aoka, "Please keep this a secret. We don't want anyone to know. We'll give you a piece of land if you promise not to tell a soul." Aoka looked down at the tiny, perfect form of Amarachi and nodded solemnly. "I promise," she said. "Your secret is safe with me." And so, with the secret of Amarachi's birth tucked away like a fragile treasure, the little girl grew up. The villagers soon noticed how quiet and shy she was, how she kept to herself. While the other children played by the village stream, Amarachi would find a quiet place away from the crowd. She didn't want to be seen when it was time to bathe or when nature called. It was as if she carried an invisible weight on her shoulders, a secret too large for a child to bear. But no one understood why she was so different. They simply thought she was shy, not knowing the true reason behind her reclusive ways. And so, she became the village's little secret keeper. She smiled at everyone, helped when needed, but always kept a distance, her heart heavy with the burden she could not share. As the years passed, Amarachi grew taller, and though she still preferred solitude, the villagers grew to adore her. Her kindness was her greatest gift. She would help anyone in need, a little bird that had fallen from its nest, an elderly woman struggling with her basket. Amarachi's smile was like sunshine after a storm, and her eyes sparkled like the stars. She became a gentle presence in the village, someone everyone respected, even if they didn't fully understand her. One day something extraordinary happened. The most handsome man in the village, Tar, asked Amarachi to marry him. Tar was strong, kind, and loved by everyone, and when Amarachi said yes, the entire village celebrated. It was the most joyful occasion the village had ever seen, with dancing, laughter, and food that seemed to fill the very air with happiness. Amarachi, radiant in her sparkling dress, stood beside Tar, proud and content. They looked perfect together, and the villagers cheered. But inside, Amarachi was troubled. Though she loved Tar deeply, there was a part of her that was afraid to tell him the truth. Her secret, the one she had kept for so long, weighed heavily on her heart. She wasn't like other women, and she feared that if Tar knew the truth about her, he might not love her anymore. Night after night, when they were alone, Amarachi would find ways to delay their closeness. "Not yet, my love," she would say. "Let's wait for the right time." Tar, ever patient, would simply smile and say, "I will wait for you, Amarachi. I love you just as you are." But even though Tar's words were kind, Amarachi could feel the confusion in his eyes, the distance growing between them. She couldn't help but worry. Days turned into weeks, and the villagers began to whisper, "Why aren't they close like other married couples?" they would murmur, casting curious glances at the young couple. The whispers grew louder, and soon even the elders were talking. Tar, deeply in love but also confused, sought advice from the village elders. "I love her, but I don't understand," he confessed. "She keeps saying we should wait. Is there something I should know?" The elders looked at each other, troubled by his question. They had been sworn to secrecy by Amarachi's parents, and yet they couldn't help but see the pain in Tar's eyes. "Please be patient with her," the elders told him. "She has her reasons, and perhaps she will share them with you in time." But Tar couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The distance between him and Amarachi grew, and with it, the whispers of the village. Everyone seemed to know something except for him. Amarachi, once the beloved of the village, now felt like a shadow, the subject of endless gossip and speculation. One afternoon, as Amarachi walked through the village, she could feel the eyes of the villagers on her. Their whispers followed her wherever she went. It was too much to bear. She needed to share her burden with someone who would understand. And so, she went to Kachi, her childhood friend, the one person who had always been kind and gentle with her. Kachi greeted Amarachi with a warm hug, immediately sensing that something was wrong. "What's bothering you?" she asked softly. Amarachi, nervous and unsure, took a deep breath. "Kachi, I have a secret," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I need to tell you, but you must promise not to tell anyone." Kachi nodded, her face serious. "I promise, Amarachi." "What is it?" Amarachi hesitated, then shared her deepest secret with her friend. She told Kachi that she was born with both male and female private parts. It had been a source of confusion and shame for her throughout her life. She explained how she had kept it hidden, how she had always feared that if anyone found out, she would be rejected. Kachi, though surprised, listened with care and compassion. "Oh, Amarachi," she whispered, "that's a lot to carry, but you're still the same wonderful person I've always known. Your heart is kind and your spirit is strong. I will always stand by you." Amarachi felt a small weight lift off her shoulders. But even as she left Kachi's house, she knew her secret would no longer be hers alone. Kachi, overwhelmed by the revelation, confided in her family. And soon, like a gust of wind, Amarachi's secret spread throughout the village. At first, the villagers were shocked. Some felt pity for her, others marveled at her uniqueness, but a few began to look down on her. The once adoring stares of the village were now replaced with sidelong glances and whispered judgments. Amarachi, feeling the sting of rejection, withdrew even further. Tar, hearing the rumors, was torn between anger and sadness. He loved Amarachi, but he felt betrayed. She had kept such an important part of herself hidden from him. The joy they had once shared seemed so distant now, replaced by confusion and hurt. One evening, after days of silence and uncertainty, Tar approached Amarachi. His voice was heavy with emotion. "I think you should stay somewhere else for a little while," he said. "Just until things calm down." Amarachi's heart shattered. The home they had once shared, filled with dreams and love, now felt empty and cold. She quietly packed her things and left, finding a secluded hut at the edge of the village, surrounded by thick bushes and weeping willow trees. There she tried to find peace, but the loneliness clung to her like a heavy fog. The days that followed were hard. The village, once full of warmth and camaraderie, now felt like a distant memory. The villagers' whispers had turned cold, and Amarachi, who had once been so loved, now felt like a shadow, invisible to the very people who had once adored her. But then, something even more troubling came upon the village. A terrible drought had struck. The crops withered, the river ran dry, and the land seemed to crack and crumble under the weight of the unforgiving sun. Desperation filled the hearts of the villagers, and they turned to the elders for guidance. The elders, in their wisdom, consulted the oracle, a mystical figure who could communicate with the gods. After a long silence, the oracle spoke, his voice deep and foreboding. "The gods are angry," he said. "The balance of our world has been disrupted. Only a pure, untouched woman can restore the harmony and bring back the rains." The elders, knowing the hardship their village was facing, decided to act. They searched high and low for a virgin to make the sacrifice, But to their surprise, no one remained pure. The young women of the village had all been betrothed or married. It was then that one elder remembered Amarachi, the girl with the secret, who had always been kind and generous. "Perhaps she is the one," he murmured. "Her heart is pure, and her spirit untouched by the world." The villagers, desperate and filled with fear, agreed to the elder's suggestion. But the decision was not made lightly. The village, already divided by whispers and judgment, would have to face its own truth. And so, the villagers, led by the elders, approached Amarachi. They offered her a chance to redeem them all, to save their dying land and bring life to their village once more. But Amarachi, standing before them, had a choice to make. Would she sacrifice herself, facing her fears and insecurities, to save those who had rejected her? Would she embrace her own power, knowing that her true self, her hidden secret, was the key to the salvation of her village? Or would she walk away, choosing to live her life in peace, far from the whispers and judgments of the world she had known? Only Amarachi could decide. And as she stood there, amidst the faces of those who had once loved her, now filled with hope and desperation, she realized that her journey was just beginning.